Welcome to the show with no name yet. I'm Theonie Roussianos, and this is...
And I'm Adaire Palmer,
and you went the wrong way.
We're going to have to take the sat off.
You go the way you don't think it's supposed to go.
Well,
I'm pointing towards the wall. Yeah.
I'm pointing anywhere.
No, you're going the wrong way. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Really, really well. How are you?
I'm good. Now, we missed you last week, and we missed the whole freaking show because of just...
Can I tell them a little secret, Rachel? You can nod in the lobby. Do you want to know what happened last week? It's fun. Rachel's sitting in the lobby going like this. It was user error. She wasn't using Chrome. She was using Explorer.
Well, she'll only do that once.
That's okay. Well, and she realised it, but it wasn't meant to be because I couldn't be on last week.
It just wouldn't be the same without you.
Of course not.
Today, so
because it was a show with no name and no co-host, and that doesn't work.
No show.
Welcome to the show with no name. So Adaire and I have put this show together. It has no name because it evolved quicker than we could think of a name, and the name's kind of stuck. And to be honest with you, I actually like the way that it is. It is what it is, and that's the way we like it. We just like to fly by the seat of our pants sometimes, and things just stick and they work. And if it ain't broke, well, yeah. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So we have put this show together because we've come across paths of some pretty amazing people who are doing things for their communities, for charities, not-for-profits, or people who are directly involved with charities, not-for-profits, or as we like to call them, for purpose.
For purpose, sorry. I was on the ball right there.
I was waiting. Yeah, that's all right. You were thinking about the ball from a month ago nearly.
Anyway, go on.
Anyway, so we decided to put this show together just to showcase and promote the amazing things that people are doing out there in their community, whether it be for their next door neighbour, for their town, or for medical research, or for, building toilets in a third world country, or whatever it is that they might be doing, DV shelters, all that kind of thing. We wanted to help people share what it is they're doing, all the amazing stuff they're doing for other people and other communities. Yeah. And also, a lot of the times it comes from something that's happened to yourself. So we go through a situation, then it drives us to do something to make a difference for people who might go through that similar kind of situation in the future. Be the change we want to be.
Be the change we want to see.
Be the change we want to see.
Yeah.
So which brings us today to a very special guest.
Yes, we're speaking with the lovely Rachel Ireland after the attempt last week that went horribly wrong, but that's totally okay because, like we said before, we're both here and we've got Rachel in the lobby. Rachel and her family lost their home in a devastating fire, and then somebody has just sent me a message. I can't read what I'm supposed to be reading. There we go. This is real life TV, isn't it?
It really
they lost their home in a devastating bushfire 3 years ago, and Rachel has authored and published a book on the tragedy. And she shared the emotional turmoil that her family went through and how she used the experience to emerge much stronger. It is something that's close to my heart because she also came from that area where they lost their home. So I lived there for a while, and I know the area well. The book is called Ashes to Eden. No, it's called, sorry, I got this. Oh, you've changed that. Ashes to Eden. Is that correct?
From the Ashes of Eden.
From the Ashes of Eden. Must get that right.
Rachel,
my apologies, Rachel.
Up in the lobby.
I'm going to write that. I'm going to go and on the blackboard. I'm going to write that 100 times after we finish this. No, I'll never forget it again.
I was going to hold the book up, but I left it in the room. It's in my bedroom.
This is what Rachel's got, a book or two she can hold up for us. This is what Rachel says about her journey. Have you ever wondered what it's like to walk through a natural disaster? Just what it takes to recover and get back on your feet. Do you think it will never happen to me? And I think a lot of people think that it can. And just like it did almost 3 years ago to many families on the Adelaide Plains. Now, from the, go on, what is it again? Rachel.
From the Ashes of Eden.
From the ashes of
There you
that
go.
walks you through the journey this family endured after experiencing total loss during the Pioneer bushfire in 2015. Welcome, Rachel.
Welcome, Rach.
Well, hello.
We're doing
Hi,
it right.
girl.
Yay.
Yeah, well, I got my shit together this week.
That's it. Now, before we go on further, I do want to say please invite your friends to watch if you're live, and whether you're live or watching the replay, please share, because Rachel does have an important message to share. And also, you might want to, well, it's no secret she's written a book. It's right behind her head and she just held it up and we just talked about it. So inspiring, and people say, oh, I can't write a book, I don't have a story, who'd want to know what I've got to say? But people do. People like real stories from real people.
And
they do.
The book, it's up, the link is above. But Rachel, you've recently launched it. Now, we spoke to you before you launched the book, and you have launched it within the last 6 weeks, I believe.
Oh gosh, I don't even know. Like, time's gone so quickly. It's been, we launched it in the end of October. So
yeah, because I know I had that face because I couldn't be there. I was up in Queensland, and you had
two little promo.
I did. I
had and you missed out on an amazing night.
You did.
It was amazing. It was. The actual official launch itself was like, it blew my mind. It was just wow. Like, I was, it's going to be so easy. I'll flit around and talk to a few people I know. Wasn't going to be a big deal. But it was packed. It was so packed, and I didn't stop. We were only supposed to go for an hour and a half, and we went for nearly 3 hours.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
It was crazy.
So this was the one in the Riverland?
Or no, in Balaclava, the one that you were at.
The one that I came to.
It went for
I
ages.
was there.
Yeah.
I was there.
Yeah, you were there. The Riverland one was that was a test run. You did. Yeah. So, the Balic launch was, couldn't have gone better. Couldn't have scripted the way it went. It was just amazing. The Riverland launch was great. I had a good amount of friends supporting me, but it was the dry run, because it was the Balic one that made the difference. And I was fortunate enough to have both Janet's family members and Mr. Turner's wife and brother there to support the launch of the book, which was really special as well, because the book is actually dedicated to those two.
Yeah, they were really supportive as well, because I know after I finished speaking to you that night, I was walking off, because you were up on that stage. As I walked off after you signed our book, Mr. Turner, he came up and spoke to me, and he was asking me about my connection to you, and then he told me who he was, and it was just, they were so proud of the book.
Yeah.
I think the thing is, a lot of the people that were impacted, like the Tillers and like Janet's family and like myself, a lot of them actually don't want this to be forgotten. It happened and it was real, and we're getting too complacent in life. So, where it happened was not a bushfire zone. Where I live now is a bushfire zone. So for me, like, the behaviours are, they don't align very well with people acknowledging that this can happen anywhere.
Yeah.
It really can. And quite often you see, bushfires, and people who don't know, who are unaware, they say, well, you bought a house or you built in that area, you kind of got to expect it to happen, but you really don't.
And that's not fair.
That's not fair.
Yeah, not in the Adelaide Plains.
No.
Maybe in the Adelaide Hills, but on the plains, it's not like you would actually expect.
But even still, it's not a fair comment.
Even though it's not, and it's an ignorant comment, because it's like saying that storm that happened across South Australia in 2016. Oh, you shouldn't have built there. Oh, sorry, I had no idea that cyclonic winds were going to just come on by and wipe out my roof. Like, I don't like people that minimize other people's journeys or dismiss them or just make moronic comments on the way they've done things. It's just
and
it shows that they have a lot of issues.
And if it's after the fact, it really isn't helpful, is it? But one
It's
of the
not.
things
Not helpful.
that I was excited to hear about, Rachel, was that what your journey has been taken on board by places like the State Recovery Centre. Now, I used to work quite closely with them. I was in emergency services, and I worked as a executive officer in the State Mitigation Advisory Group to them. And I work quite closely with the State Recovery Centre and or the State Recovery Office. And I was really, really pleased to hear that the bureaucrats are taking what you're doing seriously and using
because
it.
I'm making noise.
And I think it's wonderful because I was involved in the fires in 2005 over at Port Lincoln, and that was really difficult. But the fact that what you've done is you've actually stood up and you are making a noise, and you've become a voice of the people to keep the focus on it and it going. Because one of the things that we did note, being in emergency management from a bureaucratic point of view, is it's really hard to keep that momentum going, and for the community and people like yourself to do things like this really helps give that momentum. And I'm thinking, even after the Virginia floods, it was a lot of work that went into the area after that. But again, it's like keeping the momentum going and keeping the profile. So what you're doing is really important for the community, and I really congratulate you for that, Rachel, because it is. You become the forgotten.
It is, and in the moment when something like this happens, natural disasters or any situation that really, any oh shit moment, really, people at that point in time, communities come together. And
they
people
do
people from the external communities, so people who are that aren't directly affected but know that they want to come in and help. But once the initial stage passes, people move on and they go on with their own lives, and then situations and things that shouldn't be forgotten sometimes are. So what you're doing,
sorry,
that's okay.
Kids,
this has never happened to us, has it, Adaire?
Right.
I've never given my children evil eyes over the top of my camera, ever.
I tell you what, if you ever look like that at me, I'd be doing what I was told straight away.
It doesn't work on my kids.
He just marches to the beat of his own drum, that kid.
I am as well.
So yeah.
What, Theonie's or mine? Because I'm pretty sure I can relate to that too.
Yeah. So
just give me 1 second. That's enough.
Okay.
There, we're good. I'm just going to ignore him.
That's all right. We'll do that.
Not much else I can do right now.
Now we are laughing, but this is a serious topic. But it's so after the fact, and once the initial stages pass, people usually just, the people who aren't directly affected usually just go on with normal everyday life, and things resume as they were
because their life hasn't been altered.
That's right.
Their life is it goes back to the way it was. So, while they have a really horrendous experience and it's hard for them to emotionally deal with what's happened, their physical lives are the same. So they go back to their everyday, their homes, their things. And, it's not like that for those that are directly impacted to the full extent,
No, especially those who don't have to go. Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. So it's Go. You may speak.
No, we're talking over each other. It wouldn't be us if we didn't. I was just thinking about that comment you made, Rach, and it's like thinking about when. Well, we assume that we've got all this stuff to go back to, and our photos, our memories, and that favourite dress, or that whatever it is. And do you find that you still go looking for stuff and then go, oh, it's just not there?
All the time. It's like, which house was this? Wrong house.
Yeah.
But, we make a joke of it now because there's nothing we can do to change that. It's still hard sometimes. I think especially when you get to those milestones with birthdays and you go, oh, thanks, sweetheart. You go, like we recently, my middle son turned 8, and I was looking for baby photos, and I'm like, oh, I don't even have any. And I didn't actually put a lot on Facebook back then either. So, you know, all of those things, I can't document that.
No. You can't. So you're putting a lolly in your ear.
No, he's taking the earphone because he wants to hear.
I've got the computers down here and there. I can't, unless I go down here and look at it. I could just see him here, this hand going on.
And they're the things we take for granted. They're the things we take for granted.
Yeah.
I mean, when you lose, so you lost your house, a house, the memories are gone, because you sometimes you might sit in a room and it triggers a memory or whatever. But so the house is gone. A physical house can be rebuilt. Clothes can be purchased. You know, insurance will cover a lot of that stuff. But the photos, and like you said, if you don't have.
Only if you are adequately insured. And that was a bitter pill that we learned.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
we learned that the content.
Yeah, a lot of people are underinsured and they don't know it. So that's an important message to get out there.
And that's another thing that I actually, all of the tradies that worked on the rebuild, I was like, you know, if your contents insurance is under 100,000, you're an idiot. And went through it with them all, because we're a family of 6, and you're going to be really shocked when I tell you the number we had on our content. It would have covered maybe my kitchen. It was $50,000.
Wow.
So that wasn't enough. Like,
no,
not
to replace, yeah. Because you think,
and you know,
little things like
that's all right.
The Thermomix, because I know that was a big thing for you at the time, and still is as well.
Oh,
and
I love my thermo.
You do, and so there's $2,000 just there. You've got, you know, your oven and all your other appliances. There's and then you haven't got a lounge to sit
dinner
on.
plate. No.
Yeah.
And you know, and you think about it, like I have 4 kids. We had a lot of DVDs. You think about, you pay $20 for a DVD, and I had around 400.
Yeah.
That's a big number right there. And you use CDs. I'm a big music person, and I had no idea about Spotify back then. But yeah, like I would have had easy $10,000 in CDs gone.
Yeah.
You know, CDs, movies.
And then those kinds of things, though, money aside, finances aside, can be replaced. Your photos,
they can. And that's where people.
Your photos, though. Your photos and your.
You know,
and, you know, you can get some from family. Other people can.
Right?
But not all of them. Not all of them. Yeah, that's right. I'll talk over both of you because that's the way we roll. No, but the photos.
I just want to say one thing with the photos. Yeah. So the morning of the fire, so I quite often backed up the photos onto a memory stick, all the photos we had. So it had about 8,000 photos on it. And usually I put it in my pocket the day I need to update it. So that day I was going to update it. And instead of putting it in my pocket like I normally would, because then at the end of the day you do that, oh, right, yeah, I was going to do this, I put it in the computer. So when I was evacuating, I didn't have it. There was no time. There was just no time. I was so organised for the what ifs, but when push come to shove, there was no time. And those are the things that probably hurt me the most, because I planned to have that memory stick. I had a little go file with all of our documents, and I had the kids' hands and feet molds, which is probably the thing that upsets me the most, because all 4 of them were cast out 2 weeks and 3 days. And they were the most gorgeous little hands and feet ever. And those sentimental things were really hard for me to grasp, you know, like get my head around that, you know, those things being lost, and my late Nana and my late grandmother's jewels or costume jewellery, because that was the rage. Those were hard.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, people say, oh, you know, they act like you've been given all the money in China, and you're not. And it's not even about the money. It never has been about the money. It's always about those sentimental things that we take for granted in everyday life, like, you know, your grandmother's pearls, which I happen to have. I had my great-great-grandmother's pearls. just saying they don't look so great after they've been burnt, even though they were in a fireproof box. They were like an interesting piece of artwork, let's just say.
Oh,
wow. So these are things that, like, you know, those were things that I, you know, things that I wore on my wedding day. I was actually fortunate enough to have a friend take photos on our wedding day. So she had the disc and like still kept them on her file and actually gave them to us. So that was really special because we didn't put all those up on Facebook. Back then I wasn't big on sharing everything. And now that we live so far away from family and friends and that, I share a lot more on Facebook, but only friends can see it really. So, and even now I've learned that you can put photos up there and only have them for you to see, so you can access them at some point as well. So that's a pretty cool development that I didn't know about back then.
No. So Rachel, what do you see, like pouring your heart out into the book, and you know, you're quite open about having depression or suffering from depression after
PTSD.
After the fire. PTSD. So,
yeah, PTSD is one of the big ones in there.
And
sorry, I had a bit of a trifecta actually. I had the depression, the PTSD, and the anxiety. So wow. All three of those together. I could tell you my favourite word, but it's probably not good to have that on live streaming. But yeah, it wasn't great. It wasn't great, and that was hard to come back from. And these are the things people also don't realise, is that this is another aspect of more than stuff. Like, it really affects your mental health. You know,
Theonie
disappeared.
Theonie's dropped out, but that's okay. We're here. We'll keep talking. So
yeah. So it does affect your mental health, and I think the only way that I can really get the message through is to be open about it, because, I mean, what's the point in hiding it anyway? I was on national TV while it was kind of unfolding, and I mean, I told the producers exactly what was happening, but with me, it kind of got swept under the rug. It wasn't like The Block, when they were talking about mental health on The Block, where he was totally embraced and they made a story out of it. We got dropped like hotcakes once I was talking about the fact that I'd had a breakdown.
Wow.
Which, like, I mean, that's media for you. It's double standards sometimes, but it is what it is. No, mate. And I'm okay with it, because at that point in time, there was no way I could have been a spokesperson. I couldn't have strung together a sentence to be able to say just how difficult it was. So by walking people with me in, I'll fix it in a minute. He just broke a handle.
Oh.
By taking people with me, like, I don't know if you've had a chance to read the book, Adaire, but I know that Theonie has read it. You actually,
we'll be getting a copy. I haven't got one yet. Still FOMO.
Oh wow! Here's some here. I can send you one.
We'll come to your place, because we didn't make it on Saturday, but
oh, look, life happens. Blake Maynard, that is enough. I really love my child. I usually try and bribe the heck out of him, but then you need to wait, because right now I'm doing something, and this is why, like, tomorrow I'm doing a radio segment on ABC Riverland, and I'm like, I have to try and make sure he's in the header, because it doesn't work. It's really hard to try and do. But getting back to what I was saying before, with the mental health side of things, there was a reason why I wrote it the way I did. It was so that people felt like they were living it with me, that maybe, just maybe, they could feel some of that fear that we did as we were escaping it, because it all escalated pretty quickly. And you wouldn't read about it. Like, what took about 10 to 15 pages in the book probably took about 10 to 15 seconds, it felt like, on the day. You know, things progressed so quickly. And I think if you read it, you might just have a little bit of empathy for those that have gone through what people like my family have gone through, and people before me and people after me are going to do this. But I just, you know, no one stood up so far and said, this is what it's really like.
Yeah.
let's
So-
try and change things.
So what would, I mean, being on the West Coast after the fires as part of the recovery effort, I did get a little glimpse of it, and I was just heartened by the way the community banded together. But then it's like the grieving cycle. It's not really the immediate aftermath. People do that, but you said before, people get forgotten. And 3 years,
Because it's long term.
Last week since the fire. So we've just passed the anniversary.
It's 3 years on Sunday. No, 3 years on Sunday.
It's the anniversary, third anniversary of the fire. What would you like to see? We're nearly out of time, Rachel. What would you like to see happen as a result of the book? How can we keep the momentum going, and how can we keep people, sort of being involved, and how can we keep the thing happen, so it just doesn't get dropped?
I think talking about it is talking about it. If you've read the book, recommend it. Jump on your Facebook and plug it, because Facebook is a really great tool when you're putting up something. A lot of your friends, even though they might not like it or comment on it, they're reading it. So, getting that word out there that there is this book, and saying, I did say, I dare you not to be affected, because I haven't heard one person that's read it, that's been in contact with me, that has the first words that always come out were, besides "you're brave," which is such a foreign idea to me, was I was affected. And that's what I want. I want you to feel what it's like. I want you to understand and have a little bit of perspective what it's like. So by jumping and sharing and saying, honestly, wow, I didn't think about this. I had no idea. You're showing other people.
The first chapter of the book is, I think, it really does grab you, because I was in that car with you. And I was in that car with you. Yeah. So I was in that car with you, and really, you do feel, well, I'm not the full impact. Obviously, it's never anything you ever fully understand unless you're in the situation yourself. But we do get a taster of what it was actually like for you in that moment. And it just, I didn't want to put it down. Not because, because it was just, you really did have us there. It's not just a few words thrown on a page.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, like, a lot of people say, I apologise for the whinging, but a lot of people say that to sit there and to say what I've said was brave, but everything in that first chapter is written exactly how it happened. And I've said this on national TV before. I chatted with Carl Stefanovic about it. I wanted that first chapter to be what got people's attention, because, like I said, I come from the Adelaide Plains. Bushfires don't happen there, except they did. And it will happen again, and it might not be in a bushfire zone. And people get too complacent in their own safety, and they don't realise that it just takes a spark. That's all it takes. And you can watch, years and years of history of family heirlooms of all your hard work gone.
And it doesn't even need
to replace most of it.
Yeah, it doesn't even need to be a bushfire. I mean, we've all heard stories of, in the suburbs, someone with a brush fence, someone's, lit the brush fence up or whatever, thrown a cigarette butt in there, or
an
whatever.
Electrical fault.
Yeah,
you can have an electrical fault. You can, so many things can go wrong. And, the great thing about the way I've written this book is that it can apply to any trauma. What I've gone through is what people go through in trauma, full stop. So, but what I want to happen from this book is for us to open up this discussion about the fact that it does happen, and to also change things. So, but for me, the long-term plan is to be able to create something that stays with those that are fully impacted for a significant amount of time. So I'm not talking 6 weeks. I'm talking 2 years. And that's a good time, because by the time you've rebuilt, or you've kind of gotten somewhere near back on your feet, it's quiet. You've got nothing to push towards. And that's when that tsunami of emotion that you've just been ignoring the shit out of, it gets you. And then you find yourself on the kitchen floor not able to breathe, with your, I think it was like 3 then, stroking your face, telling you it's going to be okay. Like, no, my lovely noisy son, that wasn't his job. That wasn't his job. My job was to protect him and to get him through it. It wasn't his job to carry me. And he did. When I lost it, he was the only one there. And that's in the last chapter of the book. And when I reflect on that now, it's hard. It's hard for me to accept that. And I don't want another person going through that. And this is something that's got to change, because we're so complacent when we go, they'll be all right. And I know I was. When Samson Flat happened a few months before Pinery, it's cool, you know, all these agencies will come in and help and they'll have the support of everyone. And it doesn't roll that way. Oh, hi, Sharon. I recognise that name. I think I signed your book for you. It's the way that it actually happens is that, you know, you get such a cluster of activity straight away and you don't remember it. You don't remember any individual thing. And a lot of agencies provide the same assistance, which is something that I would also like to change. They need to communicate better and stagger that help, because it's long term. I tell you, I'm busting balls all over the place. And a lot of these people, well, they don't like it because, you know, they're trying.
Yeah.
And it takes someone extraordinary to do that. And while I don't actually see myself as extraordinary, I'm just a tough bitch that just has had enough. You know, but there is a better way to do it. And if they're not going to listen to me, then nothing's going to change. So I'm just going to have to make it a little louder.
I reckon you've got a 5-year-old who might help you with that.
So
we
are out of time. You are donating $1 from every book sold to the CFS Foundation. That's the Country Fire Service Foundation. Yep. So, and they do amazing work. They do. Do you post internationally? So, if our friends from anywhere in the world want to,
if they email Phoenix Mountain direct on their email at admin@phoenixmountainaustralia.com.au. Don't quote me on that one. Then we can arrange something. We're always happy to work with people to get them the book, but it is also actually available on Amazon, the ebook. So that's another alternative if they want to read it there. So, you know, obviously there's Aussie slang in there. So if they get confused, you're going to have to email me again and I'll set you straight. Might have to do an American edition.
Might have to. All right. We are out of time. Don't go anywhere, Rach. We'll speak to you again in a moment. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you giving us your time and for jumping on Google Chrome.
Thank you. Rach.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Don't go anywhere. People never cease to amaze me. So they went through, their family, Rachel's family went through something, and the whole community, obviously everybody around them as well, went through something awful that none of us ever think will ever happen to us. But as Rachel said, as much as you think it'll never happen to you, they weren't in a bushfire zone, it won't happen here, you don't expect it. It does happen. Shit happens when you least expect it.
We were in Clare for the 74 floods. I was 11 now. I
was -4.
T-4. For a kid that was, you know, we were safe on a hill, but it was, you know, our shop got flooded and it was pretty traumatic for my parents. But I just remember being really excited because the newsagent across the road had to throw out all these damaged stock, and there were toys and books and all that, and we just went to town. It was like Christmas for us. But I think you get a different perspective when
you grown up.
Barbie and she's new. But so I guess it, you know, but something like a bushfire is something like it is really. And that, well, I think what Rachel was saying, it was so unexpected and so fast. It all happened so fast, from there's a threat of fire to like you've got to get out, or there's, you know, life-threatening things happening.
I'm just covering your face up with a message from Sharon Cox. Here's a message to Rachel. You did. You were right. People are very complacent. We had our bushfire plan, now more comprehensive. Loved your book. Still have not been able to read it fully. Could not put it down the day I received it. Thank you again for putting your heart on paper.
Oh, Sharon, that's beautiful. Thank you.
Now I'm looking at Rachel's face in the lobby. She's giving you love hearts, and the look on her face, she loves you.
So
I think you just got her in the feels.
So thank you, Rachel, for joining us, and we'll be back next Thursday at 9:30 a.m. Australian Central Daylight Time for
the show with no name yet.
So I'm Adaire Farmer,
and I'm Theonie Roussianos, and we'll see you same time, same place next week.
Bye.